Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. Before we dive into this powerful episode, please remember to subscribe to our channels and give us a 5-star rating on iTunes to continue hustling. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 613 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. I'm your producer, Luke Millette, and here's your host, James Chester.
So today we had the opportunity of interviewing Dr. Stephanie Zgraggen. And if you want to hear about how to save yourself from burnout in practice and the keys to functional medicine, stay tuned. Welcome back. Episode 613 of the Chiro Hustle podcast. This is a half take two. We were going through an interview a few days back, and the power did not cooperate for the signal. So today I have Dr. Stephanie Zgraggen back on with me, and I'm really happy to jump into this episode. We're going to talk about nutrition, functional medicine, chiropractors that are burning out, time for money paradigm, and maybe there'll be some great takeaways for you during this episode today. So get your pen and paper or pencil and paper out or keyboard out and start taking some notes, because I'm sure we're going to develop some conversation here that is going to be of high value that you're going to want to follow up with. But before we jump into episode 613, I can't believe I actually said that, 613 of these. Before we jump into this episode, I just want to let you know our big why. Why do we do what we do? I wish I should just put a tape recorder and hit the play button, but I say this every time. Freedom of speech is so important. We've never censored anybody. We know what it feels like. We've been traffic throttled. So we protect freedom of speech with this show, and we believe that we have to protect and preserve medical freedom and family health freedom. If you guys want to know more about that, find a chiropractor and go and check them out. I kind of joke around, but if you go scroll on their pages, you'll see them talking about how to keep your family healthy. You'll see about them standing for medical freedom. So chiropractors have been that driving force to keep those things, topical in our culture. We also protect the sacred trust. I know it's kind of, I shouldn't have to talk about these things, but they're removing these things from the lexicon of the colleges. So if you're a college student or you're a chiropractor that thinks more people need to hear these messages, please share the show. That's what we ask you to do. Share the show to the college students, share it to the campuses, share it to your colleagues, because they're not getting this information on their schools anymore, on the campuses anymore. So subluxation-centered chiropractic is something we support. And here's the woo-woo part of it, but it's true. This goes all the way back to D.D. Palmer, the founder, chiropractor #1. Innate intelligence and universal intelligence. We believe that when man or woman, the physical gets adjusted, it connects them to man or woman, the spiritual. All right, that's the intro. 613. Dr. Stephanie, welcome.
Thanks for having me, James. I'm really happy to be here for round 2.
Yeah, so let's reintroduce you to the chiropractic world at large. Reintroduce yourself to patients, colleagues, friends, family, and tell them a little snapshot of who you are and how you got to where you are today.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. I started off my chiropractic journey at Life University in 2000. And part of that debacle with accreditation issues and all that good stuff that went down at that point. So I ended up finishing up my chiropractic career at Palmer West out in San Jose, California. From there, I drove across the country, started a practice in Charleston, South Carolina. And 20 years later, I have practices in Charleston, South Carolina and Atlanta, Georgia.
So Very unique, super awesome. And the brand is called Lime and Lotus.
Yes.
Walk us through how you came up with the name and what type of practices that you're helping your communities with.
Yeah, this is my second practice. I really wanted to create a multidisciplinary style practice where I could give a home to other practitioners that wanted to start small businesses. Most of them are single female entrepreneurs under my office, and we offer everything from chiropractic care, massage, clinical nutrition, counseling, relationship coaching, and aesthetics. So a little bit of everything under one roof.
Well, I've seen this trend happening. I've seen where the medical, like big box medicine stores, like hospitals, are hemorrhaging their employees because people were under that leadership and they were afraid. They're being, I guess, no freedom of choice, no medical health freedom, and when they were the ones providing care and services to people, they felt that they were being shunned if they didn't follow the paradigm, if they didn't follow the path that was being presented. So I think it's really cool that there are more functional style chiropractic centers that are bringing people under one roof. Because like we were talking about earlier, if they don't get it from us, they'll get it from someone else.
Exactly. I think that's huge. And part of me in my first practice was there was a lot of burnout. It was very high volume practice. I had a ton of employees and it just wasn't working for myself and or my adrenals. So when I switched my practice, I wanted to create a whole different type of practice, a whole different model, a whole different paradigm. And that's literally what I did. Currently, I have no employees. I have a few virtual assistants that help me out with everything that I do. But I really wanted to give small business owners opportunities to create and grow their own businesses within my business. So it's been running that way for about 12 years now. It's been beautiful. And I'm looking to have a Lime and Lotus number 3, hopefully within the next year.
So as you've developed and you've grown, what have been some of the things that you've done that have helped you market and get yourself established? And I know all chiropractors do this when they're like, oh, we're just referral based practice,
Right.
They feel that like sense of pride. But I know that there's a lot of chiropractors out there that are still grinding to get their PVA up. They're still grinding to get new patients. Like, what have been some things that worked for you to get to where you are to get a satellite operation and go to number 3?
Yeah. In my first practice, it was really a lot of boots on the ground. We were going to every single school and doing health screenings. I was at every single race and run in the area, talking to people after their race. It was going into different companies, doing nutrition classes. So that's kind of how it all started. Where it is now is more, I don't really pay for any advertising at this point. Everything is a bit word of mouth, social media. And I have just from my own personal practice, I found a niche in what I do. I think whether you're a chiropractor, whether you're doing functional medicine, clinical nutrition, if you can find what you're passionate about within that realm and just dive in deep and really be able to help people on a very profound level, I think it kind of naturally comes to you that way. So, my specialty is female hormone balancing, fatigue, digestive disorders, and autoimmune diseases. And that's kind of been my clinical practice for the last decade.
So I guess I'm really curious. You said social media.
Mm-hmm.
How have you learned how to leverage getting new clients from social media without paying for advertising?
By doing daily posts, offering engagement with people where they can engage with me, asking questions, and just, you have to be social to be there. For a long time, I just use social media for friends and family, but I've learned that if I create posts that are engaging to my ideal client or my ideal patient, then those conversations start and they naturally are coming to you as opposed to you going to them. So that's been a nice shift as well. And doing things like podcasts have been great for getting the word out to everybody. I guess if you're a chiropractor and you're in office and doing kind of time for money and can only see people in your area, then obviously getting on the radio or podcasts in your area would be great. But if you're doing functional medicine or nutrition and working with patients all over the country, it doesn't matter what podcast you're on. I've had just this week, a new patient found me on a gluten-free podcast that I did a conversation on.
Yeah, and I've heard this said time and time again because I love marketing. They say that the riches are in the niches.
I would agree with that because, and also telling people not what you do, because people really don't give a shit what you do. It's, can you help me with whatever X problem I have? So now when people say, what do you do? I don't say I'm a chiropractor, I'm a nutritionist. Pretty much walk to people and say, I help women get well and balance their hormones naturally. And usually the next word out of their mouth is, I need that, or my wife needs you, or I have a friend that needs that. So there is opportunity for the niches. And of course, there's our interruption, the Amazon guy dropping off a box.
Well, that's just the truth of how we grow. I always used to tell people, I mean, I still kind of like do this, but it's less important to me today than it was before, but be social on social.
Yeah.
Like the engagement posts, like those are going to draw people in, and your tribe will follow.
Mhm.
And then, I don't like the whole vanity metrics, like comments, likes, and shares. Like it only takes one comment.
Mhm.
It only takes one heart. It only takes one thumbs up. It only takes one person to see the message, because there are so many, like, I guess for lack of a better phraseology, there's so many people that are just like browsing, or so many people that are just like stalking on social media, and they don't say anything.
Yeah.
They just go and read all the comments, and they screenshot everything, and they don't share anything, they don't heart anything, they don't love anything, but they're just observing.
Mhm.
And sometimes that's how the DM opens up, and somebody will reach out to you and say, hey, I've been watching you for 6 months. I see how you're helping women with their thyroids. And they're also shy, and they're unsure, and they don't know what to do, but they're dealing with this time bomb inside of them. And then eventually they get enough courage and they say, hey, Dr. Stephanie, can you help me?
Yep. And that is a lot of times how it goes too. It's not the person that necessarily commented on the post, but someone that dropped into the DMs that starts conversation. I literally just had that today with one of my posts that I posted. And she's like, hey, can you help me? Let's run some labs. And I'm like, sure, let's get started. So, and I think social media too provides us with an opportunity to be more authentic. I think that's what we're kind of missing with everyone being in their phones, and everything is, not in person as much as it used to be. We have an opportunity to create authenticity within our posting, to even create some vulnerability. That was something that I never really wanted to share, kind of my vulnerability and my past, and kind of my issues and what I dealt with my own hormones to get to where I am. And to be perfectly honest, as soon as I created that post for myself of where I was when I was in chiropractic school with my hormones and how I fixed it and where I am today, that was huge, because that showed, I think, people that, one, I went through the same thing. They're like, hey, that's me. And she's fixed herself too. And she probably has the tools to help me. So from a marketing perspective, I think sharing your story, sharing your experience, sharing your transition, if you have a good story, I think is really important too.
Well, every great movie that has become like iconic has followed a program called The Hero's Journey.
Yep.
It's Joseph Campbell's work.
Yep.
And if you take people on a journey, they'll follow you. I mean, I learned this from back when I was reading Russell Brunson's book, who started the brand called ClickFunnels, who's getting all types of press right now because he was a college wrestler. His son's wrestling, and he went and
I saw that video.
I mean, come on, like we're all under the microscope. Like,
yep.
a concerned dad didn't do anything to hurt that other kid. Like, get over it. But I was listening to Tony Robbins today on my way to the studio, and like the dude, I've never been like the big Tony guy. Like, I haven't read any of his books, but I just started listening to out of recommendation from my friend Brad Wolf, who's a chiropractor in Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's like, hey, there's this 3-day summit that he's doing for free. He's like, they're 3-hour deals. And he's like, you might want to consider listening to it. So I'm one of those people that, like, when I listen, I'm not a passive listener. I I told people when we started out, like, take your pen and paper out and start taking some notes, or like make notes on your phone. Like, I'll make notes during like me listening to like somebody's like work, because I think it's important.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. And he was telling this story about like how he didn't have any money and he was living in his car. Okay. And how he got this banker to give him a loan so he could go to Jim Rohn's seminar.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, dude, I sat in that seminar, and he's like, I wrote, like, he's like, I didn't even want to get up to take a pee break. He goes, because every second that I was engaged in that seminar, he's like, I thought I was going to lose something if I didn't like write it down. And he's like, my friend that went with me did the same thing. He's like, we were afraid to take bathroom breaks. And he was saying something on my drive in is certainty leads to action. Uncertainty leads to no action.
Mm.
And that resonated with me when you were just saying what you said about how you have put your story out there. And vulnerability is power.
It really is. Yeah.
And when people see that you're like them, they want to connect with you even greater. So when I talk about my $3 story about when I was working in a chiropractic clinic and I stopped working as a traction tech, I was working in a CBP office, and it was January 12th of 2016. Okay. I was about to like go homeless.
Oh.
And it's a real story. Like I can't make this stuff up. And I resonated with Tony Robbins because he was living in his car and I was about to like lose my place that I was living.
Mm-hmm.
And I think so many people are vulnerable to the fact that they don't have like that, like, I'm going to tell that story.
Yeah.
So anyways, I got 2 clients in Denver and I went and made enough money to pay my bills with $3 left to my name. And then I went out and I did 600 screenings over the next 36 months, working 28 days a month. So, you know, that part resonates with me. And when people like hire me to go like work with them, they're like, whoa, that guy has done nothing but like build his life by serving other people. Mm-hmm. And that's why I love chiropractic so much. And I love your stories, because when you do connect with people authentically, people want your help. But I tell people in the public all the time, they don't know where to go or who to trust.
Right.
They don't know. And if they did, they would already be fixed.
Yeah.
But nobody wants to admit that they need to be fixed.
Yeah, that is, and I think that's kind of where some of the shyness on the social media comes from that you mentioned. They don't want to raise their hand in the class or, you know, feel any shame from that or any judgment from that. And I think us sharing our stories, allowing people to connect with us on social media or even sending an email, whatever it might look like, is the way that we can really connect with them where they may not have taken that chance.
Yeah. And then like my friend Jenny here, like you encourage people, you know, you find people, you encourage them. And I think that that's a part where we can't overstep our boundary or we can't walk across the line. We have to let them do it for themselves, but we can connect with them. And connection, you know, is valuable. And when you give people like a few words of encouragement, like they might go their whole life and no one ever told them anything like encouraging. And that why do you think that their health is struggling or failing? Why do you think their adrenals are maxed out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because
they're trying to be somebody that they can't be.
Yeah, I think we can provide connection, encouragement, and of course accountability. You know, you're right. We can't do the work for them. They have to do the work. They have to want to do the work. They have to want to do the work for themselves. I always tell patients, if we're kind of struggling with that, I can't want this more than you do because it just doesn't work that way. You know, when you're ready to fully step into this and commit to it, I'm here 100% behind you, but you literally have to do the work. I'm the guide on the journey.
Well, then here's the other side of this. When the practitioner says those things, words matter.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we care more about your health than you do. Like that can't be the paradigm anymore.
No. Like
people have to care about their health and like you said, they have to let the physician, the chiropractor, whoever they're trusting, guide them. And they have to be willing to listen and follow through.
It can't be a passive street anymore. It has to be active. So I found
let's talk about this time for money paradigm and where we find some chiropractors getting stuck in some grooves and thinking that they have to practice a certain way and they can't practice the way that they want to.
Yeah, I feel like that was a paradigm that was really kind of taught to us in school is you're physically hands-on with people. You can only see one person at a time. And if you're not in your clinic, I mean, unless you have associates or, relief doctors, if you're not in your clinic, you're not making money. And that was very true for the first several years in my practice. We didn't want to take vacations. We didn't want to leave because that affected our bottom line and our ability to provide for our employees as well. Because if we're not open and they can't work, they're not eating either. So it was just this spiral that to me, it just didn't look right. It didn't feel right. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. How can we manage this? And, I talk to my clients that I have about either you kind of grow laterally or vertically. Laterally is if you want to double your income, you double your patient load. Well, if there's only one or two of you in the office, that's really difficult to do. If we grow laterally, we're adding different services. So we still have the same number of patients or clients we're seeing, but we're able to offer them different services so that we could double our income with the same amount of people. So that's really where I started getting into what different services could I add to my practice that patients want anyway. They're looking for nutrition. They're buying crap off the shelves that isn't working. If I can provide them with protocols that actually work to help them heal better, I found that they get healthier, they get off their medications, they hold their adjustments better, and they're just overall happier people. So that is kind of the journey that took me through that whole process.
You made it to Chiro Hustle. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession on the world's #1 chiropractic podcast. This episode is brought to you by Excite Medical and the DRX 9000, Chiro HD, Softwave, Bridge Financial, 100% Chiropractic, Chiro Health USA, Imaging Services, Chiro Moguls, The Chiro Speaking Company, New Patients in a Box, Pure Chiro Notes, Titronics, Sherman College of Chiropractic, Life Chiropractic College West, Pro Hockey Chiros, Pro Baseball Chiros, and the IFCO. You can benefit from our full list of sponsors by visiting our sponsor page at chirohustle.com/sponsors. Links in the description. Now, let's hustle. So let's just say somebody's watching this right now and they're just on fire inside, not in a good way. Like they're like, I feel like I have eczema. I feel like I have IBS. I feel like my thyroid's off. I can't lose weight. Like, do I have parasites? Like, what's your message to that group?
Yeah, if a patient client thinks that they've got everything going on, they might, but finding a practitioner that is really well versed in kind of getting through all of that down to truly the foundational principles. Because yes, could we throw everything in the kitchen sink at you? Of course, but that generally it's not good, in my opinion, for their pocketbook, their time, and their ability to heal. So generally, I'm looking at what's the lowest common denominator that needs to be worked on. For a lot of patients, that is digestive issues, it's immune system issues, because if we can't get those under wraps, it's really hard to get your thyroid. Your thyroid are controlled by your adrenals, your digestive system, your liver play a huge role in thyroid health. So if we just look at the thyroid and nothing else, I think we're doing the patient a disservice. So I am generally starting with what is the system that makes the bigger system work.
So fundamentally, I know that like there's more like toxins and pollutants in our water. There's more toxins and pollutants in our food that we're eating, the water. I mean, you can go across the board. And how are we fixing that with people, knowing that the stuff that they're actually consuming is not making them healthy?
Yeah, I think that is a huge issue currently. Even if we're eating well and looking at what we're putting in our bodies and exercising, getting chiropractic care, we're still breathing in all the junk they're putting in the air. There's still, if you're not really filtering your water, there's still pharmaceuticals in your water that you're drinking. So I think it's really important that we are addressing that with patients. One way to do that I think is simple is in putting detox programs into your office. That's one thing that I've been doing for the last 20 years. It's easy. Most people can do a short-term program and they see huge benefits with that. So yeah, I think that's probably, if you're just doing chiropractic and wanting to get into nutrition, if you just found a good quality program that you like and just implemented that into your office, you'd have a huge following for, getting people healthy very easily with your practice.
So what I think I hear you saying is you don't have to do everything all at once.
Right.
You can find yourself a niche program that you follow and help people with the most effective path and then guide them as they go through the journey with you.
Absolutely. And a lot of issues that patients are having that are chronic, those are things that we can teach them to control. A lot of these chronic conditions are lifestyle choices, they're due to toxins in the body, those kind of things. And if we can start just slowly implementing different techniques or services into our office, they tend to want more. Most patients of mine, when they go through a detox, if they weren't really interested in nutrition before, they're like, man, my sleep is better. I've lost 10 pounds. I've doubled my energy. Like, what else you got for me? Or how do I keep feeling this good? So that kind of sets the stage for adding more layers to it. But, just starting somewhere is always good. And you don't have to be necessarily niched out in the beginning if you're just getting started as a chiropractor with nutrition. You can do something as simple as a detox program in your office and really start seeing some results.
Yeah. And I think that people want to be a part of a community too. Like
Absolutely.
if you said, hey, we're doing like a 21-day challenge at our office where we're going to do these types of like this type of, and I think it was MediHerb by Standard Process that we were talking about last time. Is that the detox that you recommend to people?
Yes, Standard Process is the other company, like it's kind of a sister to MediHerb. Standard Process has a fantastic 21-day program that they have their purification program, and I've used that for 20 years in clinical practice. It's got great results. I actually did a master's degree in nutrition a number of years ago, and my master's thesis was on that program and how well it worked, and looking at the different results we got from putting patients through that program. And it's been around for about 20 years, and I've been using it for that long. I started doing patients one-on-one with it, and to be perfectly honest, just got tired of saying the same thing over and over and over. And that's when I started group classes. So creating that community, creating group classes was a really, really easy way to step into, one, saving my own time, two, increasing my hourly revenue. My hourly revenue that I would get adjusting patients versus doing a group class like that went up tenfold, and now it's more than that. And you can just keep doing that over and over. So once you systematize it, you can just drop that system whenever you want to do a program in your clinic, and it's been fabulous.
So I know that as reading through your bio that you shared with us, and one of those processes is a turnkey nutrition program that you offer to other practitioners. Let's elaborate on that a little bit.
Yeah. Because the detoxes worked so well for myself, I started teaching other doctors how to implement those systems into their practice. And then that morphed into creating an online program where doctors can learn how to systematically add a done for you detox program into their clinics. Because most doctors, they don't have enough, they don't have time. I get it. Like, we're busy, the time for money thing. You don't have time to make the flyers and the swipe files for your newsletters and the graphics and the social media stuff. I literally just created everything that I've done for my office. I literally give my doctors. So it's just a self-guided program they go through. Within 6 to 8 weeks, they are up and running with their own detox program in their office. And it's unbranded. So you don't have to necessarily use Standard Process. Any company that's got a quality program, you can just drop that brand's detox program into it. I'm creating the system and teaching you how to integrate that and market it so that it's successful in your practice.
Yeah. And I can't urge people enough to know what their spit, what's in their poop, what's in their blood. Like, find out what's going on with your health from a baseline standard. It's like, knowing what plays to like go off to win. And if you don't know how to like strategize your health, then you're definitely going to get beat.
Yeah.
And we see how many inflammatory diseases are out there, and autoimmune things are like rampant now. And, this viral load that we've been like, all, somehow it's all a part of our culture. Like, people need this type of a program. Practitioners need this type of a program. And I think that if we understand that subluxations are caused physical, chemical, emotional, when the physical, the patient comes in experiencing some type of a symptom, could be headaches to numbness and tingling in the arms or hands, to chemical. We've already, I can reiterate, their food supply is crap. they're drinking pollutants in their water, and their air is being tainted by chemtrails.
Yep.
And as we go down the rabbit hole, now they're emotionally fatigued. Their relationships are struggling. Their self-confidence is diminished. Their appearance, their self-esteem has been like blown up. And now they're like, well, what do I do?
Yeah.
So it's all real, right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting too, because when I started using detox in my office, I knew that patients would lose weight and they would feel better and sleep better and energy, all that kind of stuff. But what became more profound for me was the fact that some patients that were in kind of systemic pain, they'd literally be within 3 weeks, like, my pain is gone. I can't tell you how many patients we've gotten off medications. My last group program that we finished up here just a couple weeks ago, I had a patient on 3 different diabetic medications. She was down to 1 by the time we were done with week 3. So it is literally changing people's lives. And just so much so that I remember one dad came up to me afterwards, and he didn't want to be there. His wife made him do the program. But at the end, he said, I feel like I want to be a better dad now. I mean, literally his motivation for life shifted. And that floored me, because I'm like, this is so profound. The amount they spent on this program was well worth, the stuff like that is priceless to me, that people get back when going through a program like this.
Yeah. And it's a small investment for the outcome that people
Absolutely.
get, really.
Yeah.
I always tell people you can give 3 things: your time, your talent, your treasure. And a lot of times you have to give all of them. And I think that that's a huge takeaway for anybody that's like watching this. It's like, you have to be all in.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just be a fan of like, one thing. You have to like start going down all of these. That's unfortunate truth.
Yeah.
Is like, you can't just like be interested in chiropractic as a patient. You have to be interested in, how do I eat better? How do I exercise better? And no better resource than a chiropractor to help you with those needs. So functional medicine, detoxing, chiropractic, where do you see chiropractic going? Where do you see the chiropractic profession headed in the 2 decades?
I think more and more people are not happy with the conventional route, medication, that kind of thing. And I think we are going to be more in demand over the course of the next 2 decades. I think that those of us chiropractors that are very well versed in keeping up with everything and offering different services, we're probably going to be the busiest, because we can kind of have a one-stop shop for the patients that are looking for that. People are so busy. If they can come to one place and have 3 different services, I found that to be very helpful as well. But I don't think chiropractic is going away. We're not going anywhere. If anything, we're going to be taking more of the market, because we have the opportunity to at this point.
Well, I see what you said there. You said people aren't happy with the paradigm that they're in.
Yeah.
And I think it's not happiness, it's results.
Well, that too.
They're not seeing results from the system that they've been plugged into.
Yeah.
And they're like, this sucks. Like, what else is out there?
Yeah. It's results. And also too, it's, I think, respect for their time and their thoughts and feelings, happy in the sense that they go to a doctor's office sometimes and they said, hey, what about this? And the doctor poo-poos whatever they're looking at. Oh, nutrition can't help. Nutrition can't do this. I see that so many times that that's not the case. Or they go to a doctor's office and they have to wait 2 hours to be seen. My office, we are on time, and my patients appreciate that.
Well, this isn't like a scripted thing, but how do we crack the code for people to think that their responsibility for health isn't based on insurance, or that providers that don't take insurance aren't practicing like the right way?
I think they're screwing it up enough that it's kind of happening authentically just that way, waiting months for a visit at this point. Your practitioner only spending 2 seconds with you. All my visits are anywhere between 30 minutes and an hour with the patient. And yes, does it cost more money? Yes. Is it self-pay? Yes. But are we getting results? Yes. So I think people are willing to pay for stuff they value. If they say they don't have money, if their TV broke tomorrow, they would go buy a new TV. I can almost guarantee that. So it's, what do they put value on? And when we keep spreading the message of what we have to offer and being authentic and vulnerable and sharing our message, I think that's where we can then provide that resource to people that are looking.
So 20 years in the profession, who are some of the people that have helped you become the practitioner that you are today?
Oh, um, I'd have to say the biggest person is probably my dad, even though he's an engineer. but but he was an engineer that started his own business, and pretty much as a kid told me I could do whatever I wanted. And just I could, if I think outside the box, just not to take no for an answer. And if I didn't like something, then figure out a way to change it. So I think that probably has served me the best in having a business, growing a business, completely vamping my business halfway through, my 10-year mark, completely redid it. So I think that's probably my biggest support system that I have in my corner.
Yeah, I there's so much value in having an imagination.
Yes.
and giving people encouragement and giving them that lift that they need. And many times we don't know where we're going to get it from. I think that sometimes it's a coach when we're young that will give it to us if we're not getting it at home, or a guidance counselor. Some people have to wait till they're all the way into college before like a professor will like do that for them.
Yep.
So yeah, it's cool that it was your dad.
Yep.
So close this out with a story of encouragement and something that you've seen over the course of your career that touches your heart that you might want to share with our audiences, have them get some inspiration too.
Mm. I think the biggest thing that has touched my heart in working with patients over the last 20 years is the fact that especially for me, when they're coming in to see me, a lot of times they've been everywhere else and they have no hope. They've been told your labs are normal. They're like, I don't feel normal. So I think being able to give those patients hope where they had lost it, and to really set them on a really specific path to regaining their health, and knowing that they can do that and it's coming from within. Like, I'm not doing anything. It is all their body. The power that made the body is healing the body. We just have to put the right goods in, the right raw materials, keep the nervous system flowing correctly. And I think those have probably been some of the most powerful and profound patients that I've worked with, is really being able to see that transition. And the nice thing, a lot of times it's been in a relatively short amount of time. So we're going from hopeless patients to, them feeling 100% better within just a few short months has been profound in my clinical experience.
I was talking to my friend Brad this past week, and I said, hey, if I dropped you into a dark room and you didn't have any lights on, what would you do? He's like, oh, I'd walk over to the wall where the light switch would be, and I'd turn the light on. I think that that's the same analogy that I have to say about people's lab work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is people are dropping people into a dark room and not being functional with what's going on, and not looking for the right things and expecting a different outcome.
Absolutely.
Everything is geared towards, you're broken, you need this medicine. Yep. Rather than your body can self-regulate and self-heal.
Absolutely.
And if we take this approach, you're going to have more vitality and freedom, and you're not going to be a consumer. So invest today, take care of yourself, be a leader for your family, be a leader for your friends, be a leader for your community, and get on a better path. And I think that that's the big takeaway that I got from episode of 613 today with you. So yes. I appreciate you sharing with me. I appreciate you listening. I appreciate all of the things that you're up to. If people want to connect with you or learn more about you or jump onto the program with you, where do we send them to?
Yeah, my website's probably the best. It's drzgraggen.com. And I'm all over social media. So I'd love to connect with you on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, wherever you're at.
So she's just telling you guys that she's with the times. She's on all the socials. So drzgraggen.com is your lead in, and go find her on socials. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
Ooh, I think the big thing too is, while you're doing this and in practice, this is a big chunk of our lives. So have fun with it. And if you're not having fun, figure out a way to make it fun again. That's where I was. I completely revamped where I'm at. And I absolutely love what I'm doing right now, helping patients, helping clinicians, and I wouldn't have changed it for the world. So thank you for having me on today, James. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we have a lot of fun over here at Chiro Hustle, and we do stand for really important things, and the consistency is what I believe is making us win. So with your voice and your personality and your inclusion, thank you for being a part of the Chiro Hustle community. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for being episode 613 of the Chiro Hustle podcast.
Thank you.
Well, like I always do, I close out by telling people you're just one story away. Keep hustling. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now. Have a good day, Dr. Stephanie.
Bye.
All right. Thanks for listening to Chiro Hustle. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.